Regan MP please come? We welcome you to the pulpit of Northern Beach Pentecostal Church. God bless you and thank you for your time.
Right, I've only got 2 minutes apparently. How do I get through all that? Can I just say firstly, 20th anniversary, that's huge. Church is going through a lot of different changes, and I know my wife's church, the Baptist church, has gone through on a downward sort of a spiral and it's now starting to pick up again. So it's good to see the faith community starting to really come alive again. And she would be here with me today, except she took her parents up to Newcastle, where her two brothers are. So they're up at Newcastle at the Hunter Bible Church this morning. So she couldn't be here with me, so she sends her apologies. The irony though is we've got some people from Newcastle here today. So there you go. I'll do my best to cover all of this, all those questions in different ways. Firstly, I was born at Auburn Hospital, out in Sydney's western suburbs. Grew up in Greystanes, Marylands. I went to Holloway High School. I was very fortunate to be surrounded by extraordinarily strong women in my family. My grandmother, my auntie, my mother, as examples, my great auntie even. And got a lot of values and a lot of independence, I guess, from them. And generations have changed a lot and continue to change. I guess for me, my mum was Church of England, my dad was Catholic, my auntie married one of the Ferrugia boys at Marylands, and they went to Uniting Church and taught the Catholic preschool up there in the Central Coast. I've been surrounded by the spiritual journey a lot, and different donations. When I married my wife Bronwyn from North Melbourne Baptist Church, it's another journey again. And I find with music, and I was really impressed today, and I was glad I wasn't following immediately after those songs, because you're all amazing, and the power of music is extraordinary. It changes the temperature in a room, does it not? It is a bookmark in time, but the temperature change in a room is extraordinary, and I see that. And actually, I have, outside of my family, hero is a term I don't like to use because it's used too loosely with sporting stars and the like. But Nelson Mandela and Ramesh Water, who I have had the pleasure of meeting twice now, President Ramesh Water of East Timor, was an extraordinary human. He's done amazing things in the world. But there's one other one, it's music related. A guy called Bono. Now, he is an Irishman who has changed the world like he does with humanity, but he struggles with his religion. He reads the Bible every day. And it talks about that, and that speaks to me in terms of how he views the world and how he sees it. I encourage you to read his book, or better still, listen to the audio book, 40 Songs of Surrender. It's an extraordinary journey, and him telling his story. It's funny. If you like his music, it's even better. It's a great storytelling. There's one finding his way with the Bible and his journey with God. And because one thing I learned from him is politics is the art of compromise. And the independents, I was asked to join the major parties, all three in fact, just so you're aware. All three have asked me to run at various stages. And I stayed independent because I feel I can represent my community far stronger as an independent and not be bound by gags and the like. Because politics genuinely is about the art of compromise. It's not blanket decisions. What we see today, and what I've seen up close now, is how the major parties work. On a Monday morning, you get told, this is legislation, this is how you're voting, this is the media lines, these are the questions you ask us, this is your roster, and I'll see you on Thursday at the bar. Where's the negotiation? Where's the input? Where's the different points of view? So it's no different for the opposition. The opposition gets told this is how we're going to attack it. This is how the questions we're going to ask, and try and create different gotcha moments, if you like. And this is your roster, where to be. See, there's no research, there's no input, there's no opportunity to just talk to the government and say, how can we change? There are now 10 independents in government, in New South Wales Parliament. The government at any one time needs 3 of those votes to get their legislation passed. What that's done is allowed us to make hundreds and hundreds of amendments to key bits of legislation, including the conversion bill, including other bills that were deemed controversial. I spoke at length with many faith leaders and then narrowed it down to just one, and just to form my views around that and to make sure that I was voting for the greater good and for having the knowledge and respect that we watered down the bill significantly, and we're just talking about that briefly on stage. What hasn't happened, which is the way of the world these days, is it's not been explained in detail what those changes are and how it will impact or not impact. And that's because we live on these things, 30 seconds, and you're bored and you move on. Or there's different algorithms which take you to different things. And so that's been one of the challenges for me, is how do we explain these changes without the hate. And so one of the things that I struggled with a lot in this parliament was that the whole youth crime is out of control in certain parts of this state. Really, really bad. Not graffiti, not things. We're talking about home invasions, we're talking about violence, 10-year-olds driving cars, 10-year-olds stealing cars, doing home invasions, threatening other adults. Places like Moree and some rural areas, Griffith, down south, it is awful. But what led to that? And so the answer that they wanted to see, that the local residents wanted to see, was locking these kids up at the age of 10 or 12. How is that an answer? What's gone wrong and what haven't we invested in to prevent that from happening? What are we doing wrong to make sure that this doesn't happen again? And what can we do to stop the problem now? It's very hard. And I spoke at length with the Premier, the Police Minister, the Attorney General, and some of my crossbench colleagues, two of which are former police officers out in rural areas, one of which is Broken Hill to Dubbo. That's the size of his area. It's bigger than some European countries. And we spoke about what we could do. If we were going to lower the age to, I think it was 12, which we then compromised to maybe 14, what could we then do as simultaneously in terms of investing in programs that would work about prevention and both inside, if they were locked up, trying to prevent it beforehand, inside jail and post. So we put a lot of other mechanisms in place, but that costs money. The hate money that you get as a politician is extraordinary. But doing that compromise and doing what you think is, you're not comfortable with yourself, what you're trying to do for the greater good is something I struggle with as a politician. I genuinely care about this stuff, and I don't want to lock any child up. But it's hard, because there's the people demanding that out there and they're doing the wrong thing. So I have a real struggle with issues like that, but I see it as my job to negotiate with government better outcomes, both short-term, medium-term and long-term, and I've got the ability to do that, and I will do that, but it also doesn't sit well with me necessarily, because I'm just human like the rest of you, and when you cop some different abuse back, I'm 51 years of age, turning 52 next year, I can cope with that. I've grown up in a world I can cope with that, but I shouldn't have to, and no one should. And when you then hear about these 12-year-olds taking their own lives because of social media, what am I supposed to do as a politician? Ban it when I've got them saying, no, I shouldn't? I've got an 19-year-old, sorry, a 19-year-old and a 21-year-old. They say it's not going to work, we'll get around it, etc. But these are the decisions I'm asked to make and do. So, lastly about the independent versus major party thing, we've passed 5 bills in the Parliament. There's a recent by-election in Pittwater, and the Liberals were all out there saying, oh, independents can't do anything, etc., etc. They can't pass laws, they can't pass bills. We've passed 5 bills. There'll be another probably 5 or 10 more in the next year or two. And separately to that, the Liberals will pass the 0 because the government will not allow it. Just as they never allowed Labor to pass bills where a narrow government. That's just how stupid and pathetic our political system can be, and it broadly speaking is. There is no compromise. So I'm glad there's some independents in there that force the compromise. Yes, because of the minority government, but there's some sort of value in that. So I guess that's where I sit with all that. One of the things I've worked on is domestic violence. Yesterday I spent the day at part of the day at a shelter, and then we're opening up a resilience centre domestic violence, I found out as part of my bidding that there was no program called Staying Home Leaving Violence, which basically allows, if a man is bashing his wife or children, the police arrest him, take him down to jail, arrest him, he can then go home if he's bailed. Meanwhile, the women and children have to move out and go to a shelter if there's a bed available. Most of the beds in most of the shelters are taken up. They end up in a hotel room for up to 30 days whilst they're trying to find accommodation. That's appalling. In one case, one woman and two children ended up in D1 police station in the jail cell, unlocked for 2 nights whilst they tried to find accommodation. The program that I wanted to implement was something called Staying Home Leaving Violence, which kicks the man out and leaves the woman and child at home, gives them the safety, changes the cameras, gives them the bracelets, etc. and so forth. I found out that there was 93 LGAs, local government authorities, that had it out of 128. Now 128, 12 councils, local government areas, from Manly to Palm Beach to Hornsby, it's about 12 councils, did not have this program. That's probably a quarter or a fifth of the state's population, and they were unprotected. So, being independent, I went into the government and said, we're going to implement this, etc., and you're going to do that, and you're going to claim the win. And they did, $48 million. So we can now make sure that every woman and child is now safe in the case of a man being arrested for hitting his wife or children, which is a really big deal. So that has been the power of what I've been able to achieve as an independent. It's not necessarily widely known, but it's important that we do these things. Gambling reform is another one. I've started to change the language of some of our clubs. DYRSL is my club, where I like to go and meet some of my mates, and they rely heavily on poker machines. They rake in, after taxes, about $30–40 million of profit just on poker machines at that one little club in DY. And I said that they should close on Anzac Day, one day of the year. And they gave me all sorts of grief, personally attacked me, and told me where to go. However, I've now started on some presentations I'm at, you watch the language change from the president, talking very openly about poker machines and trying to explore their reliance on it as an income. So I'm proud of that. And that's what keeps me going, I guess, as an independent, and to keep going as a politician, because it's a very, very hard job when you're trying to find compromise in very difficult and personal situations which affects everybody in some way, big and small. So I guess on that, I can keep talking about politics, but I'm conscious I've only got so many minutes, and you guys want to eat food, and you want to hear from other speakers. But I want to say thank you so much for inviting me to this church. It's a great place, and I love the power of music. And as Bono said, the music of the treble clef, the international symbol of peace. And he gives lots of reasons for that, but one example he gave was that President George Bush and Osama bin Laden both had a passion and a love of Bach classical music. So they could sit in a room and talk peacefully and passionately about Bach and the classics. However, outside of that room, they literally wanted to murder each other and their citizens. The power of music. Have a great day, everybody. Happy birthday.